All right, everybody, welcome back to the Driveway Engineer. Happy Saturday. It is Saturday. Well, it'll be Sunday when you guys see this. Anyway, it's time to move into phase three of our LS What to Build, Stuff to Buy series. This is actually the phase that I am in right now. I am currently running on phase two, and that's a lot of fun. You guys have seen how easily my truck does burnouts, and it's super fun to drive. And now it's time for me to move on. So I've started collecting these parts, and in the springtime, actually over the winter, I'll be installing this stuff. So I'm not just the president, I'm also a client of the Driveway Engineer. Um, this makes some assumptions at this level. Once you get into this kind of power level, I start to make some assumptions. If you're coming from like driving your dad's friend's 5-liter Mustang back in the day and you thought it was super fast, you're going to die if you go out and build this and have no kind of electronic aids or anything else. If you've driven your buddy's, 2012 Camaro SS and it had a tuner on it and it's super fast and that some bitch, I tell you what, boy, she shit and get all the shits and I couldn't get the $100 bill off dashboard, boy. Again, that car has a ton of electronic aids to save your dumbass from yourself. My truck at around 400 tire or less probably is a handful to drive. I have to be careful pulling out. I can't pull out into traffic aggressively. It will light the tires. I'll go sideways. So this is even worse. If you want to do rolling burnouts at, 50, 55 miles an hour, it might make it challenging to pass people on a 2-lane. Just be aware. So this assumes you have some certain kind of knowledge and this isn't your first rodeo. And also it assumes that you have a cam and spring and tuners or tuning ability from the previous stages. So the $1,500 is without the cam springs and tuning. And we'll get into it right here. All right, so the first thing you're going to want is you're going to want a second pump. If you didn't have a pump from before, just buy another one of these Chemso pumps. You can totally hang them in the basket, zip tie them to the hanger. I have two of them hanging in mine right now. They're zip tied together and the line is wide where it comes out here, one comes out here and one comes out like this and they wire together and go up to the top of the sending unit. They are wired together. They run together. I don't have any Hobbs switches. I don't have any Holley Terminator X determining when to phase in with pulse width modulation. They just fucking run full tilt all the time. That's the beauty of a return fuel system. It just sends the fuel back. Even if you have returnless rails, your filter still just returns it all back. So there's no need to get too fancy there. Another pump is fine. You don't need a Bosch. You don't need an external pump. You don't need one on the rail. Just add another one in a tank. I go back and forth on this a lot, and I listen to a lot of people, and a lot of people have a lot of good feedback. There's negatives to the GT45 Turbo that I use and that I recommend. It is physically huge. If you have a tight engine bay, if you're swapping a 240 or something like that, a third-gen Camaro, Trans Ams are even tighter. You may have difficulty packaging this turbo, but at $150, and I've made over 600 to the tire and ran out of injector. Richard Holdner's tested this to up to 800 horsepower. There's a bunch of them out there. There's a bunch of feedback on them. They're really reliable. They just work. So there's a little bit of weirdness with the flanges and stuff, but it's not that big a deal to me. I don't see any reason to spend any more if you want to be in the 600 rear wheel horsepower area. And a lot of people out there who are picking numbers are just, I don't know what some of you guys are using to determine, I need 700 tire. Why? What are you doing? Racing my friends at the Sonic? Well, you probably don't. So walk before you run. This one's from Max Speeding Rods. This is actually where mine came from. I actually just bought a second one from Max Speeding Rods so that I can do an install more similar to what all of you would be doing. Because mine, I welded the wastegate to the housing and some other stuff. So I'd like to more closely mimic what you guys would see if you're installing the next thing on our list. It's a T4 flange. It's otherwise a pretty basic turbo. The flange is normal here. The exhaust flange is the part that's weird and trips people up. Not that big a deal. It looks like I've skipped or I'm out of order. So for the turbo kit, I like what the guy in my Facebook group, my buddy Will Barnes, he offers for $470 a log manifold and a crossover, and that is shipped to your door. So I don't know why people kind of glom on, where can I get a kit with everything I need? If somebody else is doing all of the thinking for you, and you're not going to do anything but righty-tighty, lefty-loosey, and then call them and complain and try to social media shame them when it doesn't fit perfectly, then you're going to pay $2,500 for the shit, period. And then it goes from the realm of possibility and affordability if you work a couple extra shifts over the summer to completely out of reach for the normal person. So these log manifolds, if you can fit them, $470 with a crossover, it's a hell of a deal. And these things are nice too. I have a video on mine on the channel. This is what it looks like. You have a stock truck manifold over here. You put your factory O2 sensor here. It's got a flex in the middle, which really people think that it's because of the motor vibrations or whatever. Like, where are these two banks going? Nowhere. They're rigid. But it does help because things are imperfect in life. It helps line them up to bolt them on. You use a 2-bolt 38mm style wastegate right here under the truck. This will clear, it's known to clear 4L80s. I believe it clears 4-wheel drives. I know it clears 4L60s with 4-wheel drives. It clears GMT 800 trucks. It clears GMT 900 trucks. And then this is a cast iron manifold. It's not like the factory ones. It is cast iron. It has no provisions for a wastegate on it, which is why there's one here on the crossover. You don't have to buy this crossover from Will. He doesn't care. You can buy it or you can make your own. You see, it's relatively simple. You got a T4 flange up here and it bolts to your head. Your spark plugs clear excellent. It's a wonderful piece at a wonderful price. This is $235 for the log. It's $235 for the crossover, which comes to $470 total. It's a real bargain. That's kind of, it's hard to beat. There's other people out there doing this, but they definitely don't care about you and won't support you after the fact. So do as you wish, but I would buy mine from Will if I wanted to buy one. If you want to flip your manifolds or you have a 3rd gen or something with tighter hood clearance that a log won't clear, you know, there's other options out there. As always, the time, you can spend time or you can spend money. So nothing wrong with flip manifolds. People made 1,000 horsepower with them and more. Next up is dealing with the exhaust flange. Like I mentioned earlier, the GT45 exhaust flange is a little bit weird. This is the one that I bought. I think it's 3 1/4 or it's 3 1/4. So this goes 3 1/4 on the inside here, and it's 4 inches on the outside here. So you can just stick a 4-inch exhaust pipe in there and weld it on, and you're done, which is the next thing on the list. This is the pipe that I bought. And what I will do, I haven't done it yet. What I will do is cut this off. This end's welded on, that's normal. I'll just cut this wide part off, and that's where I'll step it down to a 3-inch pipe. A 3-inch down pipe is plenty for this power level. And that's where my wideband O2 sensor will go in also. Intercooler. This is one people ask me about often. Do I have to have an intercooler? And the answer is no, you do not have to have an intercooler. And I know that that's going to be super fun in the comment section as always. But no, you do not have to have an intercooler. My Mercedes turbo diesel came turbo blue directly into the manifold. Not having an intercooler, that said, not having an intercooler will definitely limit you because your intake air temperatures will get very, very hot. An intercooler, a shitty air-to-air intercooler like this is good for up to 150-degree drop in intake air temperature, which means you can run more boost in English without pulling timing. So you'll make a lot more power with an intercooler. I put $150. This is $140. You see, without piping, they're 90, 65. They're all over the place, and it kind of depends on what you need. Like, I have to have a 2.5-inch intercooler for behind my grill because of the way it drops back to the radiator. Other people can fit a 3-inch. It just depends on what you can fit. So anything is better than nothing, though. On to injectors. I used to run decapped injectors. I have videos on the channel on how to build your own flow tester. I really recommend that for the money. There's people who pop up on eBay and on the Facebook groups every now and again who offer injectors for $100, $125 decapped. Hunter Tune offers them for 175 on his website. I don't know Hunter Tune or whoever, whatever his name is. I don't know him at all. I've never interacted with him in any way. I just know he's another YouTuber, and I'm assuming he has a lot to lose if he sells you some bunk ass injectors. So I would feel safe that he wouldn't do that. But if you're watching Hunter, reach out. Let's talk. Let's be friends, man. Let's be friends. But yeah, personally, I would just decap my own. I would, that flow and check. Bleh, can't talk. That flow tester that I built was about, I don't know, $40 with an Arduino, and thanks to Dale Follett for the coding. Pretty simple and totally capable of doing the flow testing. What I've chosen, you'll also need a wastegate. I don't know why that didn't make it onto the list, but you need this style. They're 2-bolt. There's a bunch of them. Speed Daddy's always a good one to go with. There's like DNA Motorsports. There's a few of them out there that are pretty legit, but it doesn't really matter. Whatever one you want, whatever color you want, bolt that shit on, go do burnouts. It'll be awesome. I don't get anything from it either way. Yeah, it's pretty straightforward. From that, people ask about blow-off valves. I never use them, don't need them. And then my personal preference nowadays is to just buy the snake eater injectors. They are expensive. That's why I buy them 2 at a time. So every few weeks I throw a couple in the cart until I have a full set. I'm going for the 100-pounders. Some people need more. And the reason that I do that is because in the next phase, when I want more, I ran out of fuel with my decapped injectors with a GT45. So for the overhead, but you can always decap the injectors now, sell them later. That's what I did. I decapped the injectors now that I sold them for $150, and I got my first 2 snake eaters for free. So there's no reason that you have to skip to this. They're about $350, which brings your total all in, like I said, minus tuning. I'm assuming you have HP tuners or some kind of way to tune this, or somebody to tune it. A cam, whatever cam you want, and springs, valve springs, to about $1,500. And 1,500 horsepower for around 550 rear wheel horse. My truck's a 6-liter, a 4.8 will make, I think Matt Happel made like just around 500. So there's always a range with these kinds of things, but it'll be a good time. I guarantee you that. And part of the argument is people say, against the GT45 is that you'll always want more, you'll always want more. But I would rather have something now. Like, I'm okay with throwing $150 away or adding $150 to have 2 of them later. Which, maybe that's my plan. Maybe that's why I have 2 of them. We'll see. But anyway, thanks for watching, guys. Next week, we'll go up another level, and we'll keep on going through this as long as you guys keep watching. So let me know what you think in the comments below. I appreciate you guys watching. Have a good weekend. Be safe out there, and we'll see you next time on The Driveway Engineer.